Welcome back to Narrations. Some mothers lose sleep. Some lose time. And some feel like they are slowly losing themselves. Tonight's story is about a woman who steps away from her career to raise her child, and begins to feel something inside her change in ways she cannot explain. This is Nightbitch. It's about identity, about isolation, and about what happens when motherhood becomes something consuming. She is not given a name. At least, not one that matters. Because somewhere along the way, her identity has been reduced to a role. She is simply mother. Before this life, she had a different identity. She was an artist. Creative, independent, filled with ideas and expression. She worked with her hands, shaping things, building meaning out of materials. But that life feels distant now. Almost unreal. Now her days are defined by repetition. She wakes up early, not because she wants to, but because her toddler does. The morning begins immediately with responsibility: feeding, cleaning, soothing, organizing. There is no transition from rest to activity. The day simply starts, already in motion. Her husband travels frequently for work. When he is home, he is present in a limited way, helpful in small moments, but largely disconnected from the full weight of what daily caregiving looks like. He sees their life in broad strokes. She lives it in detail. Every minute. Every need. Every small demand that never fully ends. The house becomes her entire world. Rooms that once might have felt temporary now feel permanent. The same toys, the same mess, the same routines repeat day after day, creating a rhythm that feels less like stability and more like confinement. At first, she tries to maintain control. She organizes, plans, attempts to create structure. But slowly, something begins shifting. Not dramatically, but subtly. She begins noticing changes in her body. At night, she feels restless. Her senses feel sharper. Her thoughts more instinctive. More physical. Less controlled. She begins experiencing something she cannot fully explain. An urge. Not emotional. Not rational. Something deeper. Something animal. At first, she dismisses it. Blames exhaustion. Sleep deprivation. The psychological toll of isolation. But the feeling does not go away. It grows. She notices physical changes. Her teeth feel different, her body feels heavier, her movements less deliberate and more instinctive. Her dreams become vivid. Strange. Filled with images she cannot fully interpret. She begins to question herself. Not loudly, but internally. Is something wrong with me? Or is this something else? At the same time, her relationship with motherhood begins shifting. She loves her child. That is never in question. But love does not erase the difficulty, the repetition, the loss of identity, the constant giving without anything being returned in a way that feels equal. She begins feeling invisible, not just to the outside world, but to herself. She tries reaching out, attending a local parenting group, meeting other mothers. But the conversations feel surface level, filtered, polite. No one speaks about the deeper, darker feelings. The exhaustion that goes beyond tiredness. The frustration that cannot be expressed without guilt. The sense of disappearing. So she begins withdrawing further, turning inward. And that's when the transformation becomes harder to ignore. One night, she wakes up and finds something unsettling. Her body has changed. Not entirely, but enough to feel real. Her senses are heightened. Her instincts stronger. She feels an urge to go outside. To move. To run. And when she does, it feels natural. Like something she has always known. The boundaries between what is real and what is imagined begin to blur. Is she becoming something? Or is this her mind reacting to a life that has become too confined? The story does not answer immediately. It lets the uncertainty remain. Because the transformation is not just physical. It is emotional, psychological. Symbolic. She begins reclaiming something. Not her old life. But something else. Something raw. Unfiltered. Something that does not ask permission. And as that part of her grows stronger, the life she has been living begins to feel less sustainable. Less real. Less like something she can continue pretending to accept. At some point, the question stops being, "Is this real?" and becomes something else. "Why does it feel right?" The transformation, whether literal or imagined, no longer feels like something to resist. It begins to feel like relief. For so long, her life has been structured around control. Around politeness, patience, and constant emotional regulation. Every reaction filtered. Every frustration softened. Every moment shaped to fit what a good mother is supposed to be. But now, something inside her refuses that structure. She begins noticing how different she feels at night. The world is quieter. Less demanding. Her child is asleep. The expectations fade slightly. And in that quiet, the instinct returns. She steps outside again. Walks without purpose. Then runs. Not for exercise. Not for health. But because her body wants to move. Because for the first time in a long time, she is not thinking. She is feeling. The physicality of it, the ground beneath her feet, the air against her skin, the rhythm of her movement, becomes something grounding. Something real. More real than the routines inside the house. The transformation becomes less frightening and more familiar. She begins accepting it. Not as something that is happening to her, but as something that is part of her. At home, her relationship with her husband begins to shift. He notices the change. Not in obvious ways at first, but in small differences. She is less accommodating. Less willing to quietly absorb everything. She speaks more directly. More honestly. And he doesn't fully understand it. Because from his perspective, nothing about their life has changed. But for her, everything has. There is a distance between them now. Not because she loves him less, but because she is no longer willing to disappear in order to maintain comfort. She begins questioning things she once accepted. Why is all of this her responsibility? Why is her identity tied only to caregiving? Why is her exhaustion expected, but never truly acknowledged? These questions are not loud, but they are constant. And they reshape how she moves through her life. Her interactions with other mothers change as well. Where she once tried to fit into their conversations, she now sees the performance behind them. The careful language. The filtered honesty. The way everyone pretends things are manageable. She stops participating in that performance. And in doing so, she becomes separate. Not isolated. But different. More aware. More honest. At the same time, the symbolic transformation continues. Her body still feels altered. Her instincts still surface. There are moments where the line between reality and imagination blurs completely. But instead of searching for clarity, she begins embracing the ambiguity. Because the transformation is not just about becoming something else. It is about reconnecting with something that was always there. A version of herself that is instinctive. Powerful. Unapologetic. A version that does not exist solely for others. The turning point comes not through a dramatic event, but through understanding. She begins writing again. Returning to her identity as an artist. Not in a polished or structured way, but in fragments. Thoughts. Observations. Pieces of herself. And through that process, she starts reconnecting with who she was before motherhood reshaped her life. Not rejecting motherhood, but refusing to let it be the only definition of her existence. Her relationship with her child remains central. She still cares. Still protects. Still loves deeply. But now, that love exists alongside something else. Self-awareness. Presence. Identity. She is no longer disappearing into the role. She is existing within it. The Nightbitch becomes less of a transformation and more of a metaphor. A representation of everything she suppressed. Everything she was told to soften. Everything she was expected to hide. And by allowing that part of herself to exist, she finds balance. Not perfect balance. Not easy balance. But something real. Something sustainable. Her life does not suddenly become easier. The responsibilities remain. The routines continue. The challenges do not disappear. But she changes. And that changes everything. Nightbitch is not about becoming something else. It is about remembering who you are. About the parts of yourself that don't fit neatly into expectations. About the instinct, the anger, the creativity, the identity that exists beyond roles. Motherhood does not erase who you are. But sometimes it hides it. And sometimes, finding yourself again means embracing the parts that feel unfamiliar. Or even uncomfortable. Because those parts were never meant to disappear. If you enjoyed listening to this narration, please like, share, and subscribe for more movie stories. I'll see you in the next one.